The wait is finally over. Week one of the NFL season is officially here. It's time to get an edge over your league mates with my week one wide receiver rankings. What's going on, guys? Cody Onmeese with the Fantasy Face-Off here. I'm excited to be bringing you guys my week one wide receiver rankings today. I've got these guys broken into tiers as per usual, so let's jump right into it with my tier one guys. We've got Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Mike Evans, and Nico Collins. These are guys who I believe have a real shot at being the overall wide receiver one on the week. And I want to highlight just one guy in this tier. I know many of you might be thinking this guy is the odd man out, but Mike Evans versus the Atlanta Falcons. Guys, he is my start of the week. I like Mike Evans. He has been the epitome of consistency ever since coming into the league. He has 11 straight seasons with 1,000 yards or more. He's been every quarterback he's had, tried and true guy. And so this is a big divisional game to start the year versus Atlanta. Coaches really want to win this game to get ahead in a crucial divisional race that could come down to the wire late in the season with Atlanta. Atlanta has the projected 31st best pass defense, and Baker Mayfield is already without both Chris Godwin and Jalen McMillan to start the year. I do like rookie Emeka Egbuka, but in a crucial spot in a game like this, I think Baker is going to want to rely on his trusted guy. I'm not projecting this, but it would not surprise me if Mike Evans has a 2-touchdown game to start the year. Again, crucial game in week one. I'm expecting a hot start for Mike Evans. Rolling right into tier two, we've got A.J. Brown, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., Puka Nacua, Ladd McConkey, and Drake London. These tier two guys, these are absolute studs who you feel great starting as your wide receiver one this week. And I know despite the name of the first tier on the list, or the first tier, I obviously believe that any of these guys could still finish as the top dog on the week. However, situationally, the players in tier one, I like their chances just a little bit more. And guys, I want to zone in on Drake London here, staying in that same game of the Bucs Falcons. At the end of last year, Drake London had 3 full games with Michael Penix and saw nearly 40 targets. I really like London this year. I have him as my wide receiver 8, projected my wide receiver 8 on the season. I'm just a touch lower on him this week than some other analysts. I'm seeing London ranked anywhere from wide receiver 6 to wide receiver 9 for week one. Again, it's not that I don't like the guy. I think this is a tough Bucs defense in week one, a QB, Michael Penix, who's still getting his feet under him. I think we'll have a good game, but I don't expect him to absolutely explode in week one. Rolling right into tier three. Here are my tier three guys. I've got Jackson Smith and Jigba, T. Higgins, Tyreek Hill, Xavier Worthy, Jerry Jeudy, and Terry McLaurin. And you're probably looking at the name of this tier, which is, I think this is the right tier. Allow me to explain that. These are all guys who I think have some question marks around them for week one. JSN, Tyreek Hill, Jerry Jeudy. How will their QB play affect them? T. Higgins, is this going to be an all Jamar Chase week? Is it going to be a classic Bengals slow start to the season? For Terry McLaurin, will missing the last couple of months have an effect on him? But the guy I really want to highlight is Xavier Worthy versus the Chargers. He really popped down the stretch of last year toward the end of the season and then played pretty well in the playoffs. And just the situation surrounding him, Rashee Rice being suspended for the first 6 games of the year. Travis Kelce really started to show his age last year as well. I think the opportunity for Xavier Worthy could be knocking. This is a guy with 4.2 speed who can go for a big play at absolutely any time. We also saw the Chiefs use him as a gadget guy last year with end arounds. We even saw that in week one versus the Ravens with screens. And then, guys, the main thing he has going for him, Patrick Mahomes is his quarterback. I don't think we really need to overthink it. He can get the ball to his best playmakers at any time. Xavier Worthy could have a really big week one. But again, all these guys, I think this is the right tier. I could see some of them outperforming their tier. I could see some of them underperforming their tier. But going into my next tier of guys, this tier is called Could win you the week, could lose you the week. Tet McMillan, Calvin Ridley, DK Metcalf, Garrett Wilson, Cortland Sutton, and Zay Flowers. Why do I name this tier this? None of these guys will be projected to score a ton of points, but all have very real boom or bust potential. I'll just say it this way. Can you guys not picture a scenario where you're not expecting much out of Cam Ward in week 1? So you lower your expectations, but then he tosses Ridley 2 touchdowns? Could you also, on the flip side, be heading into Sunday night only needing maybe 14 points from Zay Flowers and he gives you 4 catches for 40 yards? You're not planning on 20 plus points from any of these guys, but it could easily be done. You also aren't planning on less than 10 points from any of these guys, and that could totally happen too. But I want to zone in on DK Metcalf versus the New York Jets. Against the Jets, he's likely going to draw coverage from Sauce Gardner, which could limit his upside. DK typically stays in the X role. We don't really see him go out of the slot much, so he's likely going to have Sauce in coverage most of the day. I also don't see this being a very high-scoring game, likely a defensive battle, kind of like what we saw from this past weekend again with the Ohio State Buckeyes and Texas Longhorns. However, DK, he is clearly the number one guy in this offense. Aaron Rodgers, you've heard me say it before, really likes to target his number one guy. And the reports out of camp and out of practice has been that Rodgers is constantly going to DK in passing goal-to-go situations. So DK Metcalf, could he have a really good week 1? Yeah, but I would say if you have your expectations right around that 14 to 16 point range, that's probably going to be where he'll find himself. Maybe a touchdown dependent play in week 1 for DK Metcalf. Over to tier 5, which I'm calling the Devontae Smith tier. We have Devontae Smith in it, Chris Olave, Ricky Pearsall, Devontae Adams, DJ Moore, and Marvin Harrison Jr. Allow me to explain the Devontae Smith tier. Smith, he's one of those guys that you put in your lineup every single week and kind of just say, hey, we'll see. And then sometimes he goes 80 catches for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. Other times he grabs 5 balls for 75 yards. This is just one of those tiers where all of these guys I could see having an explosion in week 1, but every single one of them just have a little bit of limit to their upside. Putting the tier back up, Devontae Smith, we know what he's capable of. Chris Olave, I mean, hey, is he going to be limited by his quarterback play? Maybe, but could see him having a great PPR week. Ricky Pearsall, is he going to be a focal point, or is Shanahan going to be, drawing up plays specifically for George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey? Devontae Adams, he's now in a new place with new wide receiver and Puka Nacua, new quarterback and Matthew Stafford. We'll see what he does. DJ Moore has 4 other guys around him that could all go for big weeks as well. And then the guy that you guys are all giving me heck for not ranking higher, Marvin Harrison Jr. versus the Saints. I have to start by saying this. Me being this low on Marvin Harrison Jr. is not indicative of how I feel about him as a player. Despite my Philly sports fandom, which you obviously can see behind me, I am an Ohio guy, and I watched every single game that Marvin Harrison Jr. was in a Buckeye uniform. I've loved his talent for years. But guys, Kyler Murray has not shown me that he can support 2 high-end fantasy-producing pass catchers. And it seems like Trey McBride is still the guy. So this ranking of MHJ, it's less about my feelings for him and more about my lack of trust that Kyler Murray can get him the ball. So until he shows me, Kyler does, that he can support both of these guys, or until they make Marvin Harrison Jr. a focal point of this offense, I'm going to have him a little bit lower in my rankings, and we'll see what happens throughout the rest of this season. Rolling into my final tier, tier 6. This is called flex play. And simply put, these are guys that you're going to put in your flex. You're going to feel pretty okay about it. You're going to see what you get out of them. But we have Jameson Williams, Emeka Egbuka, Khalil Shakir, George Pickens, Stephon Diggs, and Jacoby Myers. Guys, I want to note specifically Khalil Shakir in this tier. This is a Bills offense where, aside from Josh Allen, it's kind of been pretty hard to rank over the last couple of years, especially the pass catchers. Ever since Stephon Diggs has been gone, they spread the ball out a lot. We know that Josh Allen's going to get his. It seems like James Cook is primed for another pretty solid year as well. But we're just not sure about these pass catchers. We thought it would be Dalton Kincaid. We thought it might be Khalil Shakir last year. He does sign a deal in the offseason that keeps him here for 3 years in Buffalo. I would say last year, Shakir had a lot of solid games where you appreciated having him in your flex. But as far as competition goes, nothing really changes for him this year. I don't think that the arrivals of Josh Palmer and Elijah Moore are going to make things much different for him this year. But I will say that with that deal he signed and with the role he's been playing, he's a guy that you're probably going to feel pretty comfortable putting in your flex and playing each week. So, guys, there it is. My top 36 wide receivers. I'll put the tiers up one more time. Here they are, all 6 tiers, 6 guys in each tier. These are your guys that are going to be starting in most leagues this week. We'll see what happens. I really like a lot of these players. And again, my start of the week is Mike Evans. If you have him, I'd be very excited starting him, especially if you're starting him as your wide receiver 2. But hey, guys, good luck this season. Good luck in week 1. I hope you get off to a solid start to this fantasy football season. We'll see you next time.